When it comes to the arms, the most glaring problem is that people tend to retract their arms. As a result, we see that most people will have their elbows and shoulders pulled very far back in relation to their lower sternum and abdomen. What I'm saying is, of course, counter to the prevailing advice around posture. There seems to be no shortage of interventions designed around pulling the arms ever more back, including things like these slings. The problem is that if you look at a picture of someone who thinks they have rounded shoulders, you will see that their shoulders and elbows are far back in relation to their lower sternum and abdomen. I don't think there's a genuine picture of rounded shoulders that doesn't show someone who is actually retracting their arms. However, it's not hard to understand why this delusion exists. When you pull your arms back, as is commonly advised, you will widen the front of your arms. That might sound nice, but this widening is gained by unduly narrowing the back. While aesthetically this widened front looks in some ways impressive from the front, it's quite obvious that it coincides with a protrusion of the abdomen and a leaning appearance. This is obvious if you look at someone from the side. Which leads us to the second reason why this problem eludes most in the posture world. Most cannot conceive of actually moving the mid-torso back, which means moving the lower sternum and abdomen area back. We've covered the numerous reasons why we want to do this on this channel, but in short, it lengthens the torso and thereby the thoracolumbar fascia at our spine, and it allows us to stand with straight legs instead of leaning ones. If you don't understand that the torso can be straightened out instead of having the abdomen protrude forward, then you would assume that the arms must rest behind the front of the body. Here we can see that stopping our retraction of the arms is fundamentally wrapped up in the condition of our torso. We've seen many times how the upper rib cage is pulled back while the lower rib cage is pushed forward in most modern people. It makes sense that that would tend to pull our shoulder blades back. For more about the torso, check out the series I put out on the torso. But now we'll look at our directions for manipulating the arms. Our first consideration was moving the tip of the elbow. We want to direct this point forward to bring it forward of the plane of the ribs. To do that, we will need to point the tip of the elbow out away from the body, as F.M. Alexander described in his first book. In general, most people will need to significantly direct their elbows and upper arms down. This is because most people tend to pull their shoulders back and in, which will lift the shoulder blades and produce this hunched shoulder look. Optimally, we would like to see a significant fall of the shoulder, which is created when the shoulder blade is kept very far forward, out, and down. One of the immediate challenges of using these directions, however, is that we don't want to pull our rib cage down. We want to bring the shoulder girdle down while lifting the rib cage up and pushing the upper rib cage up through the shoulder girdle. We also need to consider the hands in all of this. Most people, when first told to move their elbow forward of the plane of the ribs, will move their hand very far forward as well. But our goal is to ultimately make the arm hang vertically straight like a pendulum. You'll find it's difficult for people to straighten their arms. Whether they have so-called rounded shoulders or so-called good posture, they will keep their arms bent. It requires effort to keep your arm bent like this. This is not an arm that is hanging with gravity. This is fighting gravity. So when we move the tip of the elbow forward to straighten the arm, we need to move the hand back. To help us move the hand back, we can direct the base of the palm, which is the center of the wrist, back. We can even direct our fingers forward in order to extend the wrist. We don't want to flex our wrist when we're trying to keep our hand back. Naturally, in all this, we are not just manipulating the arms. We can also move the lower ribs and lower sternum back in relation to the arms. One way we can think about that is to say we want to move the lower sternum, lower ribs, and even the iliacs in the front of the pelvis backwards in relation to the back of the upper arms. We also looked at the idea of moving the upper arm spot forward, out, and down. We used the idea of holding a yardstick in front of us and putting it against both upper arm spots in order to force us to move the arms forward. However, it's here that we must confront the fact that our directions will not all stay the same. While there are directions that are going to be applied in virtually every situation, as we change the condition of our directions for the arms will have to change. When we're first learning and applying these concepts, we need to do basically whatever we can to get the arm forward, which includes directing the upper arm spot forward. This can have a major effect, especially to someone new to this, and can help actually get the arm to hang vertically in front of the frontal plane. Many people in the modern world will have virtually never made such a movement with their upper arm, and so this direction can produce a real change. But obviously, once our arms are in a more forward position, the directions that we apply to the arms will have to change. These directions that we use are tools. We are using tools to deal with the challenge of maintaining our equilibrium while we engage in our daily activities. It's not the case that we just want to endlessly apply our directions to the point of shoving our arms too far forward. Shoving the arms too far forward is not something that will happen with a beginner. A beginner might benefit from the idea of shoving their arms as forward as possible, because even still they will likely retract their arms again a moment later. But once you've made some real progress, it will be possible to shove your arms too far forward, especially when leaning the torso, as is needed when we go to sit, squat, or just do some activity in a position that protects the integrity of our back. So there are two ideas we'll look at that will help us continue past this first phase of just getting the arms forward, out, and down. First, we'll address a common concern, which is that moving the arms forward will narrow the arms at the front. We absolutely do not want to narrow the arms at the front. That is why we have the outward direction. But we can also think about this like a rotation of the upper arm. If you grab a jar or cylindrical object, we'll model the movement. If we imagine the jar is our upper arm, we can model rotating the upper arm so that the tip of the elbow would point out. If we place the center of rotation on the inside of the arm, this rotation will move the arm in towards the body. Instead, we will place the center of rotation at the front of the arm. If we do that, our rotation, even though it is in some senses an inward rotation, will actually move the arm out away from the body. If we want our arm to hang straight, and we want our hand to rest at our side and not in front of us, getting this outward movement of the arm is essential. And now we'll take it one step further. If you're in a condition where your arm is generally pretty vertical and forward of the plane of the ribs, then we're going to look at a different set of directions that we can use. We're going to place a point at the back of the upper arm. The direction will be to pull the back of the upper arm forward, while not allowing the upper arm spot to go forward in space. Since you are pushing the upper arm forward from the back, you may even have to put some force into pushing the upper arm spot back so that it doesn't go forward. You'll find that this set of directions aligns with the idea we just looked at for rotating the upper arm. These directions can also really help to activate the chronically shortened muscles that most of us have in our arms and connecting into the upper torso. The original direction for moving the upper arm spot forward is not inaccurate. As I said, it can be highly effective. But as we gain skill in applying a conscious system, we will have new possibilities opened to us. That also means new possibilities for error. As our posture progresses, we will confront new problems that it formerly wasn't possible for us to have. And while that might sound unfortunate, it's actually much better than the alternative, which is to confront the same habitual problems over and over without even understanding them. We should celebrate when we get a new problem to solve, because in the end, that is what conscious guidance is all about, developing the skill to problem solve how to use your body in any situation. Thank you for watching this series about learning to control your arms. I hope I've given you some useful ideas for addressing the habitual condition of your arms, and if nothing else, I hope you can at least see the strange foolishness of pulling your arms and shoulders back to correct your posture. If you'd like some direct help in developing your problem-solving skills in how you use your body, I do offer lessons in the Initial Alexander Technique. In lessons, which are conducted one-on-one over Zoom, you will be given challenges, essentially puzzles, that can only be conquered by coordinating movements with your conscious mind. These puzzles are strange at first, even frustrating, as you try to coordinate movements that you may have never made in your life. But as your skill grows, you will see that you can control how you use your body, if you use your conscious mind. You can make sense of yourself. You can learn to use the tools you need to control how you perform the basic movements that make up all the activities that you engage in, because everything we do is done through movements. For more information, please visit my website, mechanicsofpoise.com, to book a lesson or to learn more about the initial Alexander Technique system. Thanks again for watching. Questions and comments are always welcome in the comment section below or at my email, delsartelessons@protonmail.com.